Hello, everyone. My name is Nancy Rebecca with Intuitive Mind, and this is my interviewing series where I interview different individuals who have psychic abilities and how they work with those abilities in their life. I've been working as a psychic healer and also as a facilitator teacher of psychic intuitive development for 25 years now. I've read thousands of people. And there's a lot of misconceptions around what it is that I do and what a psychic is. And Spirit told me a long time ago that it wanted me to go out in the world to help people remember that they are a spirit having a human experience. And then over the years that evolved more into, Nancy, we need you to help kind of bring this work out of the closet. So I kind of hung my shingle out in a public place. And now I have a teaching center on the busy corner here in Tacoma, Washington. And now Spirit keeps asking, we want people to see that having intuitive abilities is a very normal part of what it is to be a human being. And so today I just want to give a warm welcome to Amy McBride. Welcome, Amy. Thank you so much for being willing to kind of come out of the closet a little bit more. And I've just helped all of us and the people who are viewing this video to really normalize these abilities. So welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here.
So the question that I ask everyone, kind of a similar list of questions is kind of what I go off of, but I also listen to Spirit. So if Spirit kind of nudges me, I hope you don't mind, but I might take it in a little different direction. So we'll just see how it goes. However, did you always know that you were sensitive to unseen energies as a child, or is this something, this kind of awareness that came to you later in life?
Very much later in life, and through the training, I've been able to look back and sort of have a better sense of the threads that have run through. And part of my exploration and in taking the psychic mastery training was to get a sense of how to understand my own knowing, because I came into this world a very highly sensitive and shy person. Like I felt the weight of the world and like hide under the bed shy kind of kid. And I always wondered why, because I have a very stable upbringing, loving parents, all that stuff. So this has really sort of been a gift to recognize that sensitivity is really powerful, but it's been the managing of my nervous system and the techniques that help me get the fear away so that I can receive the sensitivity in a way that is productive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm curious, because that really kind of leads into the next question about what inspired you to explore these abilities and develop them. But it sounds like what I just heard you say was that you were very shy, extremely sensitive, that maybe now you have more of a conscious awareness that, sorry, you're hearing my dogs in the background.
Yeah.
So that maybe now, looking back, you have more of a conscious awareness that, yeah, you were sensitive, you could feel energies, but as a child, you didn't know that. And I imagine as parents of having a sensitive child like you, your parents might have been perplexed at times about how to help you work with that. Uh, so that inspired you. It sounds like you wanted to kind of help learn how to manage and work with your nervous system, you said. So could you talk, did you get the question and everything I just said?
I think so. I think so. So, but you know, nudge me along if I'm not able to clarify it. But I'd been doing yoga and meditation off and on throughout my life. Like again, as I look back, I'm like all the threads, my fascination with consciousness and the universe and all these things. But I always thought, oh, a psychic is somebody who receives information a certain way, knows how to do this thing, you know, just that it's an otherness. And I think that is, I say all the time, I'm unlearning what has been conditioned to remove my own self from my understanding of my own ability. So being able to train, you know, so I'd been meditating and such and learning about the chakras and the auras and all these things. And I'm like, what in the world does that mean though? Like, I'm
Yeah.
such a seeker. I'm such a seeker. And I really appreciate, I started to go to Intuitive Mind to Free Healing Fridays, and I took your Psychic Mastery 1 class. And then of course, I participated in the full course this past year. What a time to do that. We can talk
Yes,
about that.
during COVID.
But you know, through the practices of kind of understanding better that it, because I'm not very visual. I'm not a clairvoyant. I'm more of a knower, which is really hard because my
It
brain talks
is.
to me all the time. So it's like, oh, this is how it feels when it's connected to my higher self versus my scattery brain going around, or oh, maybe that's not my energy, that might be somebody else's, but I'm
Mhm.
feeling it, you know. So a lot of my work has been unpacking and getting better clarity on what it's like to be empathic and how to create the container. I think of it as, how do I create the circumstances for myself to receive the best wisdom, the best instructions, without the
Mhm.
chatter, without the interference with whatever else is out there. Um,
Mhm.
and it's just a magnificent exploration. And honestly, when I signed up for Psychic Mastery, and I think I told you this in the beginning, I was like, well, I don't intend, like, I'm not looking to be a psychic. I just want to understand more about the human energy field. And that's your you know, magnificent knowledge to help me understand that has been incredible and continues to be.
Mhm.
Little did I know, lo
Yeah.
and behold, once you do this work, that um, the way information comes to me becomes more clear. It's a ever evolving process. I didn't realize how much I feel things physically in my body when I'm
Mhm.
taking on things, and I'm learning to work that way. And the other thing that was so interesting to me is I thought, okay, so I'm getting access to more information, to more data, but there's still the, what are you going to do about it? I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm physically walking in the world and I see something, we still have whatever our role is in reacting, and the tools and techniques for clearing my energy or getting clarity on being able to receive is the biggest help to unravel what's mine and what's other people's, and things like that. And
Yeah. I kind of want to go back. I mean, I'm feeling this kind of intuitive push to
okay.
go back to what were your coping mechanisms and skills as a sensitive child? Because I know there's a lot of viewing audience members out there who will really be able to relate to this story of yours. And when you have that, you know, I kind of the sometimes incapacitating shyness, which I also had as a child, and but that sensitivity and your parents. And so how did you cope with that? And then now, since attending the year-long psychic mastery program, what were some tools that you found kind of help you to come up with some healthy coping?
Well, that's interesting. Well, and I also would like to say, I think we share this in common. My parents are both psychologists, so I was raised with that construct of how to think about things. So you know, even I had some tools, um, and wow, how did I cope with it? Not very well. Yes, hiding under my bed, but you know, playing
Yeah.
I'm trying, and I did, and I would do some yoga off and on. I mean, uh, I'm kind of a late bloomer though, as I look back, because I remember though, and there was a point in my like pre-teen, teenage years where I remember being really sick of being shy, and I was going into ninth grade, and I was still hiding behind my mother, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And I made a concerted effort, a decision, and I don't, you know, as I go back and reflect on it, I'm like, what exactly happened that propelled me to shift? And I went and I started ninth grade, and I met everybody, and I remembered everybody's name, and I was like, I am going to do this thing. And I ended up being class president and things like
Wow.
that, you know, kind of this servant leader way that I am. And my son's coming downstairs, and there might be some external noise. I'm sorry about this.
I don't hear a thing.
Okay. And I do remember, I struggled with depression and anxiety for the majority of my life,
Wow.
until about 8 years ago, when I made a concerted effort to shift my practices with yoga and meditation. So really, it's the psychic mastery was like an explosion of an opening of the next phase of abilities
Yeah.
to kind of get at the things I've been working with my whole
Yeah.
life. And I remember telling my father how I was very grateful for the sense he would be concerned about my depression or my sensitivity, thinking it comes from his line, which is pretty true. And I told him once, I said, Dad, I finally, I'm so grateful for the sensitivity that came through you. And now that I'm managing my nervous system, I see, like I said earlier, see how it is such a gift, but it's this dance between the two. And I don't know if that's answering your question. I also came to becoming an artist late in life too, in my early 20s. So it's like these transformations have happened where my creative spirit has been like, dunk, 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 okay, time for the next thing.
Yeah. Well, and my sense is, I've heard you, there's these kind of anchor points in what you are saying. And it was like, what I hear you say is, I lived, with my sensitivities up to a certain point, and it was like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to be like this anymore. I want to move into this place. And it sounds like you've had several points in your life where you just kind of learn to live with it, which a lot of us do. And then suddenly you were like, I'm done living like this. I want to be able to grow and thrive in a different way. And so in those choice points, it seems like the universe kind of brought ways to help you move forward.
Yes, and it was through the training program, like I said, going back, and then I can pinpoint certain points when I remember thinking when I was very upset as a teenager, and I called it my core. It was like there was some core sense of well-being that showed up for me. And I sort of always knew that, but it wasn't until now that I look back at that I can, like, again, yeah, that's a great word, to anchor, to be like, that's what that is. Okay, let me see where else I feel that in my life. How else can I cultivate that? What happened when I listened to that? How did that
Uh-huh.
change? And things like that. And even um, going through the training, and even this next evolution of my life, as we're talking about this, and it's a transformation. I have gone through many transformations in my life. This is yet another one. And I remember when I was becoming an artist and went to art school, and like the things that went in my own mind of like, I'm not really an artist. Who am I to be an artist? I just came to this. I never knew how to draw, all these things. Same thing with this. Like, I don't know. I can't see things. I don't know how to do, all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, McBride. I don't know what you're hiding from.
And I could hear that you landed there, and there must have been some level of trust and faith. They're just that you were in the right place at the right time, and that your spirit, I don't know if you would have called it your spirit getting there, but I think you said that inner core. You felt connected to an inner core that you trusted. And my sense, if I were to kind of just guess, that was the way that your soul spoke to you. Yeah. Great. All right, next question. So what do you consider are your psychic intuitive gifts? And you've already talked a little bit about knowing, and just being a knower, it really is hard. As a facilitator, I view your ability to be still and know, that's the highest skill ability, but it is the least valued and validated by most of my students. Most of them want to see. But so you've already mentioned that. So what are your psychic intuitive gifts, and in what ways do you use them in life that might surprise people?
Probably that I use them at all. I don't know. Well, it's more the techniques that I use. So like the things that have been so powerful to me in getting clarity in that knowing are the techniques to shift the energy, to clear the energy so that I can have like what I think of as like a clear space between me and another person. That if I'm bringing whatever my crud is to the table that's getting in the way of me truly understanding what's going on, I'm, that's what I work to clear, so I can be receiving. And also, it's really taking responsibility for my own part in my interactions with others. Something that has emerged that is a surprise to me is sort of the process of clearing energy when doing readings on others, and being able to sense the presence of different energy. And I feel it in my own body. And I don't know what that, I guess that's sensing. I can never remember what all the things are, but then it's also opening me up to just paying attention to where information comes in.
Yeah.
Getting out of my own way. Like, oh, that bird just sang right then when this was happening, and that's,
yeah.
what is that? And
I love it that you bring that up, because when I'm working with the students, I say, and I'm teaching them how to do readings, and I'll say, everything is in play. Everything. A truck going by, my dog's barking, the birds singing, everything is in play. Or my big toe started hurting. Like, it's like, wow, my big toe's hurting right now. And they'll say, oh my gosh, I broke my toe last week. You just, when I say everything with that clairsentient, which is feeling or knowing or hearing or seeing, all of those are in play. And it just takes cultivating that. And I remember when you first joined in, it was like, you're kind of like this, but why? But why? But why? Like, I want to understand. And I have similarities. I'm working with someone else. I said, hey, I'm a data gal. And you wouldn't know that I was a data person because I work as a full-time psychic, but I love data and science just like a lot of people do. So your way of how it would surprise people is that you use them at all, but in the ways that it sounds like it brings you clearer in your relationships and your work and work relationships, helps you keep your side of the fence clean and clear so that you can be a clear presence for others. So.
And I think that one of my gifts, and I attribute this to my mother, is being able to see the gifts in others. So I made a commitment a couple of years ago to say, like, I'm going to tell people what the wonderfulness I see in them as it comes up. And through the training, it's more powerful. I guess I feel more clear on what I'm receiving, and that it needs to be shared with people.
And you do it.
Yeah.
I call that, it's a gift. I feel like it's a gift to be able to place yourself in somebody else's shoes. And for some people, it's just a natural born gift. And for others, it's a cultivated gift. And it sounds like for you, it's a combined sense of more than just thinking about it, that you're going to actually say it out loud.
Yeah. It's really wonderful. And it's just opened up such a realm of, it's really reconnected me to my creative force. You had said early on, I wanted to be sure to get a couple points in for things that were so seminal to me in my learning and expansion. And one is that imagination is the language of the soul. And I realized how thin my imagination had gotten. Like, I'm very cognitive and rational. That's why I also appreciate you so much as a nurse. It's like, my own skepticism, whatever it is, it's kept me away from it. It's like, and I just appreciate how you model that, and to, just keep the integrity, and the discernment is so important. And it's that's really great. I really appreciate that. But I was like, how do I develop my imagination? Like, if developing my imagination is how to um, to is the muscle I need to
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
Then when my know-it-all rational brain is saying, well, you can't, I was like, we already got you. You've had, 50 some years of practice. We're gonna, we're gonna spend some time in this other area. And it's so much more fun, it's
Yeah.
just more fun. And I'm
Life
like,
life is a lot more fun when you can really invite your soul, your spirit into your life. And yes, that imagination piece. I hear this often with adults, children. When I've worked with children, they can just shift their energy in a reading so quickly. I'm scrambling to keep up with them. But when it comes to adults, there seems to be this kind of social belief that then you've got to get focused and shut that imagination off. So
and the other thing that has been so great about it is I am so actively practicing, noticing where conditioning is and dismantling that. I think that's the most powerful piece of this work, frankly, because there's a lot to dismantle, in my opinion, around just words and how we do, and the things that weigh us down, that keep us from thinking, like
yeah,
you said in the beginning, how this is our birthright as humans.
yeah,
We have this body, and whatever chemicals are zooming around, and electromagnetic fields, and I just thought, I want to I want the operating instructions. I want all of them for this being, like, I'm not gonna, why
yeah,
should I limit it to this one, especially with like modern Western culture, and how much is repressed and oppressed. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's an
yeah.
exciting time to be doing this.
It is a very exciting time to be doing this. Absolutely. So, what is the biggest misconception that you had about psychics, or what you think other people might have that you were aware of and you'd like to clarify?
Well, I think I alluded to it earlier, that there's something that other people have that I don't, that there's
Mm,
some way that it's done that is real, and that whatever I'm doing isn't, like
yeah.
it can't possibly, there must, this otherness to it,
Mhm.
right? And then that I'm, my own fear of, oh, it's made up, or it's crazy, or, the things that are the conditioning we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'll continue to do a lot of work around that. I also, I think it's the knowing that it's a space that isn't about, predicting the future, so to speak.
Right.
Once I understood better about understanding people's energy, and kind of seeing what comes up, and what needs to be shared, or even, even being able to share in a meditative sacred space with another person is a real gift. We run around all the time, and very rarely do we even just take a breath and relax, and it's really a healing space.
Mhm.
But I mean, I thought it was something that was
Yeah.
not touchable for me, I guess.
Only for a select few people. And a lot of times people will think, well, you must need to come from a psychic family, or an intuitive family. But again, we all have these abilities, and if we go back far enough, that we're going to find someone in our family line that had these abilities. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
in fact, I found out my cousin is a healer, and he went through Tibetan training, and
Oh,
runs a Buddhist institute in Philadelphia. But as we talk, he does energy healing, and it was like, oh, my own lineage, my own cousin.
nice.
I didn't really realize, I didn't know that till now. So
Yeah,
it's,
because we don't talk about it, and it was the same for me when I had my out of body experience. And of course, my mother was my safe space to go to and talk to about it. And she was able to share with me that she also had a kind of a frightening opening, because, when suddenly, I say I was suddenly sighted, doesn't mean that I knew what to do with the experiences I was having. And she prayed to Jesus to please shut all this down, and that was a story she had never shared with me. So yeah, that's part of these interviews, is about starting to have these conversations. It doesn't mean that everybody has experiences, but in my line of work and doing this long enough, I usually will find like people, they don't know, oh, that was an intuitive experience. Oh yeah, I have that all the time. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Unlearning and
Yeah,
being able to define for myself what it looks and feels like.
yeah, yeah. Now, I know you're going to be very public in this YouTube video, but in your life in general, before this interview, are you pretty public about being sensitive and intuitive, or do you just share this with a few select people?
I'm grateful that in this area I have a pretty big network of folks that are down for this. And the thing that has come up this past year that's the one that I'm most working on my own deconditioning around is I came to my creativity, and I also came to the knowing that I'm a witch, right? So that word, I just said it out loud, is like, ugh. And the conditioning around that against women, the oppression of people, of women particularly, or indigenous wisdom, that brought us to this point where the word witch is a bad word, or it has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Is something that I am, I have this thing called the Witch Reclamation Project, which starts with me. Like, how do I, what does it mean? It means wise woman. It means someone connected to the earth, to the elements. And
Oh,
again,
that's
I look back at my life.
beautiful.
Yes, and I'm like, okay, and it's a creative force, and it's a devotional practice, and it wasn't. I was listening to podcasts and different things, and they're one of my favorite witches, Amanda Yates Garcia, would just, I'd listen to her podcast about tarot, and she'd talk about archetypes and the way things work and how witches think, and she was just describing me. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna do this,
Wow.
I'm gonna do some spells, and I'm gonna do these things. It was just,
Exactly.
she described my way of being in the world as a creative, and as a and she talks about magic, so I refer to magic all the time. My mantra, my business name is Liberate Magic, so in myself and in others, and to help others get reconnected to the things they think that are normal, but that they're magnificent. It's that amazingly special and normal that we are. I don't like that word normal, but regular, whatever it is that we're
Well,
doing.
it sounds like that you may have a passion helping others reconnect with the magic in their own life and what is magical about them. I will have a saying, about people who really allow themselves to express their magic, and I'll just describe them as, oh, they're a unicorn, meaning that they're just a special person and how they move through the world. But often, there's a lot of men and women out there who are unicorns, I call them, and yet they feel like they have to hide their colors and hide their, that magical side of themselves. So I love it that this is something that you are bringing to the surface to revisit and repurpose the language, re-own it.
Yes.
In a way that has been frightening in the past.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I call it practicing in public, because when COVID hit, my yoga studios closed, the places where I would chant, where I do, the energetic work that I was doing at the time and continue to do. I did it out on my lawn. I did it in my house with my son, where he didn't know what I was, that I was up chanting and meditating and doing these things. And then, walking, and connecting with earth and the trees, and I dance with the trees, I hug them. I'm so appreciative, like of this earth of
Of
ours.
nature.
Yeah.
And
Of
your
nature.
relationship with nature.
Yeah.
And that you're not shy anymore about expressing your love for nature.
Right. And it's deconditioning, like I'm like, okay, my prime directive is to expand my imagination and to feel good, so if I'm you know, I'm stuck in the house all day doing work, I have whatever stress. I get outside, and my prime directive is to get that energy out of my body, to move it, so I can feel better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, but it's like, oh, there are people walking down, they're going to think I'm, you know, nuts. So, you know, and so, but then I say it's more important for me to feel good than it is for me to be
Yeah.
in this space of, you know, so it,
Worrying about what somebody else might say. And yeah, for the physical health, emotional health, mental health, and spiritual health. And it sounds like your relationship with nature helps you to get there.
100%, 100%.
Awesome.
And then yeah, and then I've noticed as people, anyone who's wants to talk to me, you know, they, I've been able to hold some beautiful space for folks just out on the street who need somebody to talk to, or, you know, so it's like,
Mhm.
it's just really beautiful. It's just, I had no idea what would happen. You know, transformation is, I remember at one point I was like, holy smokes, if you actually do these things, then things really change. Like I
Yes.
really changed,
Yes.
you know, for the better.
Yes. Yeah. And those are huge aha. And I know, you know, I can still kind of run up against the wall where I'm starting to kind of question or second guess. And my spirit saying, don't second guess, don't second guess. But it's that reminder of all these amazing, incredible events that, yeah, it works. And when you set your intention and put your heart, mind, and soul to something, it can unfold in beautiful ways. So let me just ask you, what's it like to live with your gifts now? You talked about that a little bit as a child. And can you turn them off and on? Or do you choose to ever turn them off and on, and why?
Um, well, I'm always trying to manage my own side of the fence. So that's always on. Well, hopefully, you know, I, yeah, I think that's the other misconception about psychics is that, like, I can just know everything that's happening in somebody's head who's standing
Yeah.
next to me. You know, like I don't want to, and I don't, you know, like,
Right.
it's it is more of a thing of managing that, and like, you know, really like, is this energy mine, is this not? And there's also, you know, some consent, you know, like, does somebody want
To
a
be
reading,
seen.
you know,
Yeah.
that they want to be stepping into that space of reading and healing. So I don't really think of them as turning on and off. I do think of cultivating the space that allows me to get more
Yeah.
deeply into it versus not.
Yeah.
But it's always there with me, like the
Yeah.
techniques to clear my field and such.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember there were times where, you know, I'd kind of like narrow the scope of my ability so that others would feel more comfortable. Because if they know that I can see them, people often get very uncomfortable. And so, but there was a point where I just couldn't do that anymore. I ended up not feeling well for a couple of days afterwards if I dimmed my light. It there were repercussions for me. I didn't feel very well. So there's definitely the boundary and that, yeah, I see clients, but I also go to the grocery store and the library and I go play with my grandkids. And when I'm in those elements of activities, no, I'm not reading the situation. I'm enjoying life just like everyone else.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like you have a son, and how is your son with your abilities?
He's he's the outside voice of the inner critic in the head, allowing me the opportunity to do more work. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, it, at the same time, he's so magic, you know. So it's just, you know, and I feel like modeling who I am and my own becoming, my own being is essential, you know. So
yeah,
and he's a
yeah,
creative. We're both creatives, and it's
yeah,
interesting. And then, you know, I'll see him kind of pick up on things sometimes, or and he
yeah,
does do some of his own kind of energetic work. I don't, you know. I look
Yeah,
forward to the day when whatever he does with his own self.
exactly. Yeah, I have a son who's 40 and a daughter who's 37, and they're both, incredibly intuitive in their own right. And probably neither one of them would describe it. They would just say, I'm just reality based, mom. It's just this is just reality. But it's like they had to pick up on a lot of material to come to that reality based conclusion. But they do use that in the world, and it is fun to watch as they've gotten older. Um, yeah, naturalize it. So,
Yeah.
oh, Amy, well, thank you so much. I just wanted to ask you just one more thing. Are you doing readings currently? And if someone who is watching this video, if they feel that connection, they can really relate to what you're saying. Kind of, what is your ideal? Do you do readings? And if so, what do you consider your ideal client?
I do readings. I'm slowly getting that part developed, and I am in the process of getting my website up that'll be better able to explain what the services are and such. But I'm very interested in people that are experiencing their own transformation. There's tremendous energy happening now. We can see people are sort of like, wait a second, with the pandemic, there are a lot of folks like myself who have been honing different superpowers or different things and maybe kind of questioning. I think that is where I'm really called. I'm definitely called to people who may be curious about this witch thing, and kind of really working through that sort of
Yeah.
deconditioning and magic liberation.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple other things up my sleeve, but those are the people I would love to work with.
So when your website is up, would you let me know about it? And I would be happy to add it to this video later. So for people to be able to reach out to you.
It's liberatemagik.com. And then I do have an Instagram that's liberate_magic, however Instagram works. I'm not good with those parts. I'm working on it, but yeah.
You can also share it with me and I'll include it.
Okay, that would be wonderful. Yeah. And
Is
also I'm an artist, so creatives, people, so I can, I get the being an artist part in that creative flow. So I think those are some of my areas of that I can relate to, that I think would be
nice
to people.
Nice. Anything else, Amy, before we conclude this?
No, I'm just so grateful to you and what you've brought to not just me, but so many other people, and to be in community with you, and so many incredible folks out there doing this.
Oh yeah.
So,
oh yeah. And growing rapidly, our community. I've been doing this 25 years, but the growth that I have seen in the last 3 years is really exciting and incredible. So, and I'm glad you're a part of it. So, all right. Thank you so much, Amy.
Pleasure.